Hi everyone and welcome to the Inner West Library's Hello Holidays program. Today I'm going to be reading Fly, which is a story that's been nominated for this year's Children's Book Awards, and then we're going to be making a colourful bird mask. Before we get started today, I'd like to say thank you to the Gadigal and the Wongal people of the Eora Nation for letting us share your land. We promise to look after it, the animals and the people too. Have you ever wanted to be a bird? Maybe an owl sitting high in a tree going twit-twoo, twit-twoo? Or maybe a peacock displaying your beautiful coloured tail feathers? Or maybe even an eagle flapping your wings and flying high in the sky. Today's story, Fly, by Jess McGeachin and published by Penguin Random House Australia, has been nominated in this year's Children's Book Awards in the New Illustrator category. And it's a beautiful story about determination and love and loss. So let's see what happens in Fly. Lucy had always been good at fixing things. The wonky letterbox, broken watches, and even Dad's old binoculars. Dad needed a bit of extra help. It was just the two of them after all. And look, there's Lucy helping with the clothesline, putting out the washing. So when Lucy found a tiny bird who couldn't fly behind the old garden shed, she was sure she could fix him too. He was just a common sparrow, but Lucy didn't think he was common at all. And look, there's a little sparrow down there. He's pretty tiny, isn't he? Lucy called him Flap. She made a shoebox bed while Dad took a closer look. "I think Flap's wing is broken," Dad told Lucy softly. "He won't be able to fly again." "It's not fair," thought Lucy. "All the other birds can still soar in the air. Why shouldn't Flap?" Surely there was a way she could help. Lucy took her very best chalk and began to draw. She was surrounded by a sea of crumpled paper before she had the perfect plan. She would need to borrow a few things. Dad wouldn't mind. He liked everything Lucy made. And look, there she is in her shed, and it says, "Keep out, secret plan." Lucy hammered, nailed, sawed and sewed. It took the whole weekend and a few afternoons. But it was worth it. Look at that fantastic plane that she's built. Lucy placed Flap safely in the back seat and pushed the plane to the big field behind their house. The wheels bent the grass as she rolled it into position. She released the brake and they hurtled down the hill, faster and faster and faster until they were flying. They soared above fields and forests. Flap chirped happily and Lucy knew he could feel the wind in his feathers again. Can you see Flap sitting in the back there behind Lucy? Lucy was so busy checking on Flap that she didn't notice something was wrong with the plane. But she did notice when the wings buckled, the rivets popped and the propeller started to slow. Just as the plane began to fall, Lucy caught a glint of colour from above. Flap gave a small chirp. And look at all those beautiful birds that have come to help them. There were herons and hornbills, eagles and egrets. Every type of bird Lucy could imagine filled the sky, and they'd all come to help. They gently lowered the plane to a field below, where it fell apart into 100 pieces. Lucy's heart sank. She'd never be able to fix this, and now Flap would never fly again. Dad came and sat next to her in the grass. Lucy told him her plan and how everything had gone wrong. "Not everything that's broken can be fixed, Lucy. but you tried to help, and Flap knows it, and that's the most important part. Lucy fixed Flap's box so it was even better than before. He stayed with them for the last few days of summer, but then he was gone. Lucy and Dad love spending time together. Sometimes they fix things, and sometimes they just watch the birds in the garden. Lucy often missed Flap, but then she remembered she had Dad. It was the two of them after all. And look, there's Dad putting a little birdhouse on the side of the garage, and now there's even a sign that says Lucy's Workshop. And at the end there we've got a page of all the different types of birds that came to help rescue them, and also some information about what you can do if you find an injured bird. I hope you enjoyed listening to Fly. Now you're ready to have some fun and we can make a colourful bird mask. So to give you an idea of the masks that we're making today, I've made up a couple of samples, and this will just give you some ideas how you can decorate your own. So you can see that they're pretty much the same, but just slightly different. And I've actually got some nice feathers there that you can use as well, instead of just using cardboard ones. So some of the materials that we're going to need today, we've got our bird template, and you can find that on the Inner West Library's Hello Holidays webpage. So you can download a copy of that, and that's got all the pieces that we need. Our basic face template, some eyes, there's 3 different sorts of feathers there, so you can decide which ones you'd like to use, and also the template for the beak. So you'll also need some So let's start off with the bird face template. Or maybe even if you're a really good drawer, you might be able to do one freehand. So once you've got your bird face template cut out, choose your colours of cardboard that you're going to draw that onto. So you can use either cardboard or paper. The cardboard will just make your bird mask a little bit stronger and a little bit sturdier than just plain paper. So I've actually got my template cut out already with all my bits and pieces on there. So when you've decided on your colours and cut out all your templates, remembering that you need to cut 2 pieces out for the eyes, take your basic mask shape and then the feathers that you've got. So as I said, you can decide how many feathers that you would like to have, and you can have a mix of maybe the fancier ones with the bits cut out or some of the smaller ones. So when you've got your feathers, just lay them out up the top of the mask and just have a look and sort of see what sort of pattern you think might look like a good pattern. So we can stick all of those down now. So just put a little bit of glue along the top there. And then start gluing down your feathers. Now we're going to do the eye pieces. So with this, it is a little bit tricky, and if you're using the thicker cardboard, it might be a good idea to get an adult to come and help you, because it can sometimes be a little bit tricky to cut out. So that's my eye piece, and what I'm going to do first is get my skewer, and I'm going to stick it right through the little part there, which is the eye. So this is going to help you then cut that centre piece out. So there we go. I've just made a little hole there, and I'm just going to cut around there now, which will make it a bit easier to cut out. It can be a little bit fiddly at times, so if you have got the thicker cardboard, maybe getting an adult to help is a great idea. Okay, so there's our first eyepiece that we've cut out. And then I'm going to do the same with the second one. So I've got both my eyepieces cut out. So just see where you'd like to position them on the mask, and then you can stick those down. Okay, so I've got both eye pieces on there. As you can see, we need to cut the hole out of the middle there as well. So we can do the same thing with the skewer. Just poke it straight through the middle and then cut out that piece. So here's our beak piece. So with our beak, to give it a little bit of a shape and a bit of a point, we're just going to fold that down the middle, so the long ways. Okay, and with these shorter edges here, we're just going to fold those down as well. So probably about 1/2 centimetre is all you need to do. So then you've got your fold down the middle and your 2 little flaps there. So what you're going to do is you're going to stick your flaps down, put a little bit of glue on those bits. And then pop it on your mask. Just like that, and you can see that's giving it that nice pointy little beak shape. Now all we have to do to finish off, unless you want to add some more decoration to it, is attach your ribbon. Oops. So I've got some ribbon here. So probably a piece about 30 centimetres long that you can sort of cut in half, and that will give you enough to tie it at the back. So just cut it in half. Then just on the back, probably about there near the eye, in line with the eye section, you can just put a bit of tape on the back there and stick it down is probably the easiest. Okay, so you can see that I've just stuck both bits down there with some tape. Alternatively, if you've got a hole punch, you could put a hole in either side there and then tie it on with a bit of a knot. So that's basically your mask that you can make. But if you wanted to add, or I could add some extra feathers here to make it a little bit more jazzy. So that one might be quite nice to stick at the front there, or I could use a green one. You could also maybe put some glitter on if you had some glitter, or you could even decorate with a few little pom-poms if you wanted to. Maybe a few little pom-poms around the side. So in the other sample that I made up, this one, I've actually grabbed one of my textures and done some very fine dots around the side. So you could do that as well if you wanted to, just to add a little bit more decoration. So I hope you had fun listening to the story today and making the mask. And don't forget to enter our Book Week competition. This year's theme is Curious Creatures, Wild Minds. You can pick up an entry form from any one of our library branches or download a copy of the entry form off our website. You can write a story or do a drawing, and there's some fantastic prizes to be won. But don't leave it too long because the competition closes on Friday the 9th of October at 5:30 p.m. If you're interested in looking at any more of the stories that have been nominated for Children's Book Week, you can find all the titles on our library catalogue. You can also find any more of our online programming that's coming up on the Inner West Library's webpage, and also check out our fantastic e-resources. So I hope you had lots of fun today, and thanks for joining me. Bye.